Michelle at? There you go. Okay.
Hey.
Okay. It's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get this started. Let's just introduce everybody here first, and then we're going to jump right into our Eagle Scout presentation. My name's Tracy McGraw. I'm acting chair.
Christine Lavoie, co-chair, member.
Hi, David Shaw, committee member.
Julie Poole, committee member.
Rick Grenier, MYA representative.
Maureen Hall, senior representative.
Jamie Devlin, representative.
Krasuski, member.
Lon Woods, liaison from Town Council.
And Matt Kasparius, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. All right, so let's go ahead and start. We have an Eagle Scout project that's being presented by Nick Bourne. Nick, floor is yours.
Okay, so my Eagle project.
Can we make sure
Put your mic
mic
on.
is on?
Hello. My Eagle Scout project is a Watson Park Goggleball pit. So a little about me. I'm a Life Scout in Troop 15 out of St. John Newman in Merrimack, down by the Friendlies. I've been in Scouts for over 10 years. I have 3 brothers who have all gone through Scouts. 2 of them are Eagle Scouts. And I've been in Troop 15 for like 7 years now. So why a Goggleball pit? I've seen 2 people I know build Goggleball pits, both at Wasserman Park. And it seems like they've really enjoyed them. And I mean, I know I've enjoyed them. I've been there plenty of times. But like when I first played Goggleball at Camp Bell up in Gilmington Ironworks, which is our scout camp, I was like, I've never played this before. It's pretty fun. And I was like, what if I built one of these for Merrimack? And I mean, I've been to Watson Park. I skated there, and when I'm there, it seems very open. And having something else to do might bring more attraction to the park. So this is just a bird's eye view of Watson Park, so we all know where we're talking about. Because there's a lot of parks in Merrimack that start with W, like Weston and Watson and Wasserman. It's kind of confusing. So this is the one of the current Goggleball pits at Wasserman Park. That was built by Joy Morris from GT15. My Goggleball pit would be the same dimensions, which are just like 2 by 10 pieces of wood. They're 30 inches tall, so like even short people can climb the walls. Of course, we have a door cut out, and that's my dad standing kind of strangely in the back to show the human size differential. So the first spot we mapped out is kind of between those trees. I put a little blue box over it, which we thought it might be a good spot because the grill area is over there and also a few picnic tables, which would be a good spot for people if they were deciding to have lunch. They could go and play some Goggleball. So yeah, one of the pros is it's near the grills and picnic area, but the cons is it's kind of close to the fenced-in river, which I know you guys want people staying out of, so that might initiate people to try to climb the fence, which is not a good idea. Matt actually recommended this spot, which is kind of back near the another picnic area. This one's covered, so if it's raining, it's okay. And the ice rink, which I didn't know is beach volleyball courts in the summer. So that might get more people to go play beach volleyball and then switch over to Goggleball. One of the only cons, though, is that it's kind of far from the road. So you might have less people see it. Because I know I like the ice rink, but it's kind of hidden because it's in the woods. So I feel like less people are on it because of how far it is from the road. So this is my budget. I've already got some donations for the fundraiser, which I plan to do a meatball sub fundraiser and sell them at St. John Newman for like $5 a piece. The Goggleball kit, which is basically all the brackets in between the boards, all the like bolts that come with it, is $520. The wood, which I basically multiplied like 2x4s for the middle to keep the like basically in the middle of the woods. The wood will start bending if you don't put a 2x4 in it, and over time you'll have to replace the boards. So getting the 2x4s will keep that from happening. So we had to add those and the 2x10s, which like wood's really expensive right now, so it added up to $652. Food and snacks are basically for the workers on the build day and the cut day, which would just be cutting all the wood we get down to the right length and sanding everything. Hardware, the only hardware we actually have to buy, I think, are screws for the 2x4s. Fundraiser, we budgeted $500 because of all the meatballs, sauce, and cheese and buns we'd have to buy. And the plastic wall covers basically go on top of the board so you don't get a cut from the wood. So yeah, the total expenses are a little under $2,000. So I plan to raise that in a couple of weekends at church selling meatball subs. This is my timeline. So finish like all the proposals. I think the district Eagle board is on April 12th. So my plan is to have this meeting today, of course, and then the town council meeting next Wednesday. And then I have to have a troop Eagle board with basically the members of the committee between that meeting next week and April 12th. And if I can get those 4 meetings done, I can start fundraising right after that. And then once I'm done my fundraiser, I will buy the supplies, which it takes a couple of weeks for the Gaga Ball kit to come in because I think the guy that sells them lives in like Iowa. So it's a pretty small business. And so once that comes in, which I assume will come in end of May, I can start cutting and building in June. So I put June 26th because it's like a Saturday or Sunday, and it gives me a little room. I expect to finish before that, but if a couple of weeks, like delay in shipments or anything, gives me some time. And that is it for the slideshow.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Does anybody have any questions?
So, great job. Great job. You did very well. Have you given any thought to asking whatever lumber company you talked to about a discount? I know.
So yeah, I used Home Depot for the prices, but my plan was to talk to
Great.
Reed's Ferry or something and see if I can get a discount
Great.
on the wood because it'll be an Eagle project. I know they've dealt with that many times. My brother actually got one when he built garden beds. He got a discount on wood. So
Okay, so you got that in your mind.
Yep.
That's wonderful. The only other thing I would say is that when you talked about the first location and then
Yep.
your second location, you had 2 different slides. It might be helpful for town council members to have that on one slide so they can compare back and forth. A little bit
Okay.
easier. Other than that, great job.
thank you.
Do you have any preferences as to which side? I know you talked about you didn't want to put it, or you're thinking not so much where the ice skating rink was because it's kind of off to the side.
I don't really have a preference. It's basically planning on having a flat area, which we determined both spots were flat enough, so it really is on what either you guys or town council decide.
Is there anybody here that has any kind of input on which side to put this on, or any ideas? Shannon?
Well, I would just say that if you're near the beach volleyball, I think that you're exactly right. You know, the adoption of a different sport and being able to, spread out, for those that want to do both. The only question I would have is spacing. I'm assuming that you've kind of gone over the plans a little bit, Matt, that there's enough spacing because sometimes beach volleyball, they don't stay in the little beach part and kind of go past to get the ball. So, like, how they might want them to interact but not interfere.
Yeah.
So finding that, that spatial plan that lets you do both,
And there's enough room there.
right? I honestly think more activities in that space is, it's an open space. It's a great spot. Okay parking, pretty good parking, and just a lot going on in that part of town. So I think it's a great idea, and it's a really good spot for it.
And Nick, you brought up a great point, and this is going to be more for Matt, is that if people don't know what's going on down there, maybe we need to update that Watson Park sign, like we've done with other parks. It says volleyball, ice skating, and Gaga pit. So it might be a good idea, and picnicking too.
Yep.
No swimming. So just a thought, maybe that could be another use of project. What's that? Is it Lady Gaga? Is it Lady Gaga?
Oh. It's usually a hexagon or an octagon, like of basically wood, and it's like soccer, but you use your hands, and so you hit the ball with your hands. You usually use like a volleyball or a soccer ball, and the goal is to hit them with the ball like knees down, and they are out, and you play until someone wins.
So it's kind of like everybody's at dodgeball.
Yeah.
And that,
Now pickleball's different too, right?
yes, pickleball's a different thing.
Balls we have here.
Lots. Nick, I might just suggest having, when you get to the council next week, have a video add a video to your slide to one of the, what it looks like
Yeah.
and to show people playing it.
Okay.
We've done a couple of these obviously before, and after we did the last one, somebody said, hey, you should think about doing one over at Watson Park. And so we put it on our list, and then obviously when we get scouts reaching out, we have a kind of a running list of potential project ideas to think about. And so this is how this came out.
Do we have anything on the website that will, because obviously I also am not as familiar with Gaga Ball, but something on our website that would show them like what Gaga Ball is, the rules of it. Because again, I think it's very new for a lot of people. I know we have about 3 courts now in Merrimack.
Yeah.
And, once I think it's 3 courts once you're done. I think it'll be the 3rd. But just, I think, like a clinic on it or a thing, because again, it'll get more use if more people.
Yeah.
I think it's, honestly, Rick, I'd like to get your thoughts on it because as a PE teacher. So, but like, is this something that's more accessible than other types of?
It's very accessible, and I think it supports a wide range of children. And I think kids probably up to maybe 14 find it enjoyable. I don't think you'll find too many adults playing it, though I might be wrong.
There's
And
plenty
I
of scout
understand
camps.
there's been great success at Wasserman Park, so
Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
get a modified Gaga league for those over a certain age, I guess.
possibly, yeah. And it is really growing.
There you go. But I think it's taking off. I mean, I just think that, we could probably get a lot of traction, maybe be the go-to Gaga center of southern New Hampshire.
There we go.
So that's what I'm saying, leagues, everything else.
All right, I'm liking all these names, the Gaga League and the Go-To Gaga. I think we're going to be able to write a story or a song about this. Are there any other questions or any other comments? Okay, we need to vote.
We do.
Okay, first, Shannon?
I move that we recommend the Gaga Pit for Watson Park project to the town council.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, somebody count.
10. 10.
Thank
10-0.
you.
Yeah. Wicked sorry I was late, just came straight from the office, so still wearing my badge.
All right, great. Nick, thank you very much. You did a great job with the presentation. And take the suggestions that people have made for your presentation to the town council. And good luck with that. You're going to do that next week?
Yep.
Yeah, so
All right.
next Thursday at 7 in this
Thursday,
room.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
forget
much.
your- Don't
Thank
forget
you.
your flash drive.
Nice job.
If you used your flash drive.
So for the rest of us, let's move on to the minutes from last time. And of course, we didn't have a meeting in February. And so we have the minutes here from January 26th. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Crickets? Okay.
So,
Do we have a motion to accept?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Phil.
Was that Phil or was
Phil, that was Phil that made the
Thank you.
motion.
I'll second for you, Tracy.
Okay, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Count.
All in favor for a minute, if you were here?
10,
I was here.
3,
4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You see it back?
6.
6. Opposed? None. Abstaining? So 1, 2, 3, 4 abstaining.
Okay. Sorry, guys, what was the count again on the Gaga Ball? I apologize.
10-0.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure. All right. Okay, so let's move on here to new business. There's a proposed memorial bench donation from Maureen
Whoop.
Green.
No,
Oh, wait,
you're
wrong
looking at
one.
an old one.
Let's
Did
go
I
back.
print out the wrong agenda?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Parks and Recs ordinances. So this is the ordinance that Matt attached to,
Pass those.
right? You
Yep.
got it? This is the ordinance that Matt attached to everybody's email, and it talks about the different rules and regulations that are required for Parks and Recs. I think this might have been prompted by Christine and I begging for no smoking signs at the dog park, since that has become an issue.
Yep.
Well,
It actually didn't, Tracy. It was
Oh.
just kind of a timing thing.
okay, coincidental.
The department head, it just coincidence, but department head meeting last week, the town manager asked all departments to look at their related ordinances. It's been 5 years since the last time they've been touched, and so the council wants to start updating things again just to make sure things aren't stale and whatever. Now, I have, overall, ours I think are pretty clean, and I want to kind of talk through what I've found so far, and then we'll see who else has anything else, and then when we get to the end of that, we can either decide if we're comfortable and make a formal recommendation on these changes, or we can push it to next month and have more time to think about it if we think we need it. So going down the list, the first one that I came up with is 142.2, which is park hours, which the current ordinance is no person may occupy, remain, stay, or loiter upon restricted recreational areas half an hour before sunset, half an hour after sunset, except under the direction or with written permission from the council, the town manager, as designated agents. This provision is no way intended to preclude authorized or regularly scheduled activities from occurring. But my thought here is maybe we should try to define those, because we have 3 or 4 things, so it's obvious. And then if it's something that comes up that's outside of those, that's when we would want somebody necessarily, council, for example, to make a decision on whether they want it to be allowed or not. So, obviously, sports that have, the first one I have is sports that have a permit to use the field. So, MYA, the adult sports leagues, all of those guys, but they have a permit to be there, is obviously authorized, but again, just defining these. Over at Watson Park, we have the beach volleyball courts and the ice skating rinks, because there are lights there. The function hall, which again, we do rent until 11 o'clock at night. So again, just trying to define it, because it's cutting down on the exceptions, so it's, here's the specific circumstances. And the last one I'm thinking about, because we've talked about it, is maybe we put the dog park on there. We keep talking about light, there's no lights yet, but maybe we put it on there and allow it for people to be there if they, I don't know. Or maybe we hold off on that piece of it until we actually get the lights there and change it again. But since we were talking about ordinances now anyway, what are people's thoughts on that? And is there any other circumstances that people could think of that would be those kind of specified permitted activities where we say it's okay for people to be there after dark?
Shannon?
I think there's a couple things you might want to do with this, just because it's fluid.
Yeah.
And let's see what this whole daylight savings time situation
Right.
going through Congress does to all your plans.
Right.
But that said, I think what you want to do is maybe link it to a page on your website, on your Facebook page, that says, all authorized, just keep all your authorized activities to one, and it becomes a living document. And that way it's always linked, and you don't have to always go back and redo this document.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
We could do that.
But just to weigh in on the dog park thing, though, unless you have lights, just a liability of what they could
That's
trip
true.
over. You don't want to go there.
Okay. Okay.
With respect to the dog park, we know that there are people who come there long after sunset.
Yeah.
The biggest problem that we have with the dog park is the whole time change, because it gets to the point in the wintertime where we're looking at 4:30, and
Yeah.
you're at sunset.
And that was part of what I was
And people are
thinking
just
about.
barely getting out of work.
Right.
But the other side of it is very much what Shannon said. It is dangerous because it's not, I mean, it's not smooth. It's a dog park.
It's a park.
And
Right.
there can be toys, there can be dogs, there can be holes. There's so many different things that can be out there that can be a hazard. So I guess my question would be is, where are we on the lights?
It's in the CIP a couple of years down the road, I think, still.
We might want to push the dog park then only
Yeah.
a little bit. I just don't know what you can do though to stop people from going out there.
Can't, other than the police
Right.
kicking them out, but
Right.
you really can't. But those aren't necessarily the people that I'm worried about. You know, in parks after dark, you know, when they're on my beach at 2 a.m, then, you know, that's a different problem. But so it sounds like people keep it kind of as is, and maybe we just, you know, specify on the website that, you know, these are kind of the permitted activities.
Yeah, even if you put like a link,
Okay.
approved, like Shannon said, is approved ones.
Yep.
And that way it's, you don't have to change the document.
Yep. Okay.
I forgot my light.
So on another section, can we
Yeah, well-
attack another section, or did you want to just go down?
Well, let me go through mine first, and then we can jump back to anything.
got
Because
it.
you might hit the same things anyway.
Most
so.
likely. Okay.
142.5 waste disposal, about no person throwing trash in restricted areas. And my thought is, because I know this is happening, is something to the effect of no person shall dispose of their household trash in our dumpsters. I don't know how we enforce it, but at least then it's, you know, it's written into the ordinance versus just kind of, hey, don't do that, you know.
And appliances?
Oh, it'd be household, wouldn't it?
Well, household trash bag. Household trash bag is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah,
And then we've had several instances where there's actually been appliances,
yeah.
right? So do we need to define that? If
Nah,
we're going
I don't know
that
if we wanna go
bad?
that far, but.
Okay.
But just household. You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
I looked in the, actually, I looked in the dumpster at the dog park yesterday,
Yeah.
and there was stuff in there that, you
Yep.
know, bags of, whole big bags of people's trash.
Well, we had a basketball hoop in the lake. We had a
wow.
stove in the parking lot.
It's always something.
I don't think there's going to be any way you can enforce any of this, but what it does by putting it to paper is it means, okay, you've been warned.
Yeah,
And it
basically.
gives the town and the police the opportunity to do something about it if it's found. But it's like
Right.
anything else.
Right.
You can't enforce.
Right, which,
Yeah.
again, I don't have any enforcement authority anyway, it's only the police does, so, but at least they can't enforce it if it's not in the ordinance, so. At least if I, you know, if the police pull into the dog park, you know, parking lot and see somebody dumping the whole, you know, emptying their
Right.
bags of trash, then they can do something about it, you know. That's my thought process here. Shannon?
And it might be just to this dog park, and I know, or it's a Wasserman technically, but I know that, why do we have a dumpster at the dog park?
We have it for, because do you want to be the person to pick up the full trash barrels full of dog waste? And, you know,
So not like a
it's
tall wheeled
basically
one?
so an employee does not have to pick up an empty trash bags. I mean, this was an issue we started with you know, when the dog park was first formed, is like, I only have part-time labor, and the barrels are gonna fill faster than I can empty them. The town only does trash barrels around parks once a week, you know, if then. And two is, you know, there's a health issue of town employees picking up bags, and then suddenly that bag of dog waste rips open, and,
Right.
you know, so we have a dumpster there. I mean, we have several dumpsters, and it's not just the dog park that this happens, but the dumpster for the function hall at Wasserman, but the one at MYA, we get household trash. The one at Martell Field gets trash, so it's really all of them.
And there's not like a way that you could get like something that's smaller, because I think that, you know, not saying just the dumpster's big.
Yeah,
So it's-
well, the one at the dog park is the smallest size they sell.
Oh,
Or
wow.
the smallest size they make available to us,
Wow.
that
Okay.
they'll empty.
And it doesn't really matter because even if it doesn't fit in there, they'll still put it in there. They just won't close the lid.
Okay.
But we have actually tried at the dog park, and I don't know if we've actually tried in other locations where we had two standalone, just literally trash cans that had the plastic cover over them. And they broke apart, whether it was how they cleaned them out or whatever. And I'm talking about the company that comes
Yeah.
out to empty. But they broke apart so easily. But when it filled up, instead of maybe putting it someplace else, they just keep piling it on top and piling it on top. And it turned into quite a disgusting mess at the front of the dog park. And that's when Matt got the small dumpster, which works out really good when people put their trash in there from the dog park. It works out really well, but it opens the door for everybody else.
Right. Okay. Moving on, 148.8, which is animals, and, you know, which talks about, you know, being on a leash except when they're inside the dog park, which is fine. But my thought was maybe we put into the ordinance the actual dog park rules. Right now, the only place the dog park rules is on the website, on the dog park page website, but it's not anywhere, and they were approved when the dog park was opened, but they're not listed kind of anywhere else, and so my thought was to actually add them into the actual ordinance so that it was
Right there.
right there, and here's the copy of that if you want to
Great
look at that.
idea. And then the last,
And then I got three more, and then we'll open it up to any other sections here, but
okay.
smoking. So no smoking shall be permitted in any restricted recreational area except in designated areas. Well, there is no, in none of our parks, there is no designated smoking section.
Good point.
There are no smoking disposal units anywhere. And so my question is if we should recommend changing it to just no smoking in parks.
Why it's outside, I'm sorry. I don't smoke, but I don't think you should stop people from smoking outside. Whether it's in a park or not. That's my opinion. But I think they should have a right to smoke outside. It's kinda hard to tell people, put that butt out.
Maureen, button.
You didn't have yours on.
Mine's on right.
Didn't hear you.
She did.
Well, that's what I feel. I mean, I'm not a smoker, I've never been a smoker, but I don't think if people are walking around in the park, want to light up a cigarette, it's not really bothering anybody.
One of the concerns that comes out is, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, and I'm not a smoker and I actually hate it. I
Well,
can't stand the
every-
smell,
yeah.
but the concern is with no disposal system that's out there, we're finding, and I'm talking about inside the dog park, which is extremely dangerous, we're finding cigarette butts, not just like,
Oh,
you know,
that's-
field stripped, but,
That's the way smokers are. They like to throw their butts wherever they walk.
which actually is an argument for what Matt said.
It's, excuse me, it's free country. We're living, it's outside. It's not inside. You can stop them from smoking inside, but I don't feel you should be able to stop people from smoking outside. And maybe you need to put a sign up, get another thing, get rid of your poop and get rid of your butts. I don't,
We're working on it.
you know, they can go in the poop bags, not gonna catch on fire.
Well, they
It's
do
not
if
gonna-
they throw them on the ground and they're
Right.
still lit, but.
Right.
Well, hey.
That is the concern.
I think that's kind of,
Are there
how
other
you gonna
town-
stop them? I'm sorry,
No, I'm sorry. Please finish.
I'm done.
Are there other town grounds that currently have prohibition on smoking on the grounds completely?
Schools,
Yeah.
Yes, I can speak to the school district and the MYA baseball fields, and I think that's basically because there are children there.
And that was the point I was actually going to make, is that a lot of our parks are there for recreational use for families and young children. And even though you are smoking outside, it does go across before it doesn't go straight up. So you would be putting kids in the path of smoking if you don't have designated areas, which we don't. So banning, prohibiting it altogether is probably best. Plus littering. I mean, we're not going to be.
No littering.
I mean, we can't be giving out $200 tickets to everyone. And honestly, it goes back. I mean, I don't know if you remember my first years on Parks and Rec, but there was a butt can at the skate park, and I was livid because it's on school property. Even though the school owned it, it was managed by the town, but the school owned it, and we were in no smoking zone. And there was a butt can there because they didn't want the littering of the butts, but they didn't stop the smoking of the butts on school property. So I think there's a time and a place, and if you're going to be commingling with young children, that might not be the best place. So.
Another thought we could look at is to just restrict it to the parking lot areas. That once they go into the actual park and they're playing and they're swimming or whatever, no smoking there. Just another form.
Not that I still don't have smoking receptacles there, but,
Right. But in the parking lots, you have some trash bins in different places, so that's not as bad as further in the park.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Lon?
Lon, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with embedding the total rules of the park. I don't disagree with striking except in designated areas. My experience has been, I've been questioned at times as to where a designated area is in a park or recreation facility. I smoke,
That's your the one that's putting
and I've made choices from time to time about where. Most of the times at home and outside, but I think, as I say, trying to include the rules in a no smoking area of an ordinance, for me, doesn't fit. And we don't presently have designated areas in the recreational areas for smoking. So I think a simple statement is probably the way it should work. That's just Woods' opinion.
Simple statement as in what?
No smoking shall be permitted in any restricted recreational area.
Just cut it right off.
Cut the rest out.
There you go. Yeah.
How do you enforce that?
Well, and again, it falls to the police department, but at least it has
Teeth?
teeth that they can, potentially enforce.
Right.
If they, or if somebody discards that butt, which then catches the park on fire, or,
Right.
that's probably where it'd get enforced realistically, but, it's like littering, they can, throwing a butt on the ground is littering, so, they can
Right.
certainly do that, but, yeah, but again, it falls to the police, because I don't have any actual enforcement authority.
We don't have it at the dog park either, but I did watch somebody at one point in time. He's out there with his dogs. He's smoking inside the dog park, and when he was finished with his cigarette still lit, flicked it, and it didn't quite make it over the fence. So I ran over and picked it up and got it stamped out and put it in my poopy bag, and I left with it. I didn't want the dogs eating it.
Right. There's just so many concerns besides dry grass, the dry mulch,
Yeah.
a dog ingesting it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Tracy?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Julie.
Fine. It's tough because I see both sides. I don't personally smoke, but I do see both sides, and I do see, if somebody's out and it's a nice day out, they might not want to have, smoke in their car. They might want to be smoking outside. Christine, I thought that the parking lot was kind of a great suggestion. My only concern with that would be is that a lot of times, and I know this from my friends, when people are smoking, they kind of congregate together. And I feel like that's gonna kind of create chaos a little bit when somebody's trying to park or, that kind of thing, the congestion and stuff. So that would kind of be my only, issue on that. But, I do agree that, I do see both sides of it, and it is tough. You know, if we could come up with kind of an area that, you know, wouldn't be an issue, such as the parking lot, or something, kind of example like that, you know, and, but again, then you're not stopping people from, you know, throwing the butts down unless you have those things, and then maybe the cops, if they catch them, can do what they do with, you know, if we didn't have it, and, you know, find them or whatever, but it's a tough thing,
Right.
you know.
Maureen, you're still shaking your head.
Just stand outside of my house on McKellen Street. You wanna see smoke. When those kids got out of school, I can't wait to put those butts in their mouth. The trail is all the way down the end of the street, and all the cigarette butts open. What are you gonna do? You can't, you know, they're restricted up by the schools, so when they hit that out, ooh, you can smoke now, they're all smoking. And I don't know why.
Okay.
Should
So I think
charge
we're gonna
more
end
for
up,
cigarettes.
with all of these, I think we'll push this to next meeting so we can think about this a little bit more. But
Sure.
let me-
Okay.
Let me keep going here. 14212, access limited. I want to add a new item C to the list. One of the problems that we have, particularly at Wasserman, is, you know, they pull into the park and they fly down the hill. There's a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit, and even though we've got 3 different sets of speed bumps, it does not slow them down. And I've chased people down the hill, going, "What are you doing?" You know, and I mean, and they're doing 30, 40, 50 miles an hour going down the hill.
Oh,
Over the
yeah.
speed bump.
Some of them were the parents picking the kids up after daycare. I came in one time and somebody just was right on my bumper.
You know, anyway, so,
It's crazy.
you know, the park is, it's posted in several spots, but they ignore it. Hold on, let me see the ordinance real quick. Yeah, just, I didn't write what the original one said, just, oh, yeah, so it was just to add that, to specify under access limited, just saying that there is a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit at Wasserman Park. Again, so it's kind of written in stone, and it's not that, hey, he decided to put up a sign. It's, you know, an actual enforcement thing, you know. We actually had at Winter Carnival, for any of those that were there, we actually had somebody come in, flew in that initial entrance of the park, and, you know, we had the police volunteers there, and he stopped him. And the guy was giving him all kinds of grief, and this is a police volunteer dressed in, you know, all in orange and everything, and he stopped him, and he called an officer, and had him come over and talk to the guy, because he's like, "What are you doing?" I mean, it was that fast, you know, so, again, the thought here is just to get it in writing, because nobody's gonna look at my website. They, you know, unless they're specifically looking for something, they're not gonna know it, and they don't necessarily know that, you know, unless it's, you know, kind of written in stone.
You think
So-
there's a sign that says speed
You would
limit
think
5
so. I
miles
kind of
an
want,
hour
like,
would be clear.
I was actually to get to the point the other day, I was debating about, like the, you know, like solar powered, like the speed limit sign that actually flash how fast they're going. Unfortunately, they're like $3,000, and
Oh,
so-
jeez.
although maybe I'll talk to the police this spring and see if I can have it set up on a weekend or something, or a couple of weekends to, you know,
Great idea.
'cause
Great idea.
it's a problem. I mean, somebody's gonna get hit, you know, especially when there's, you know, 200-300 people running around in the middle of the day for camp and, you know, whatever. Yeah. 14214, Wasserman Park Beach. Under section C, which has the rules related to no dogs in the swimming area from June 15th to August 31st, thank you. And that's a state ordinance. But we were getting, especially last year, we were getting a lot of people that were arguing with us about, well, I'm not in the swimming area. I was like, you're in the roped-in section of the beach. Well, I thought that only meant inside the docks. No, anywhere that, so I want to clarify this and just say, any roped-in section, you know, docks or beach, is where they can't be. And it's a sanitation issue. You know, Doug goes into the bathroom in the water, and then, you know, Johnny goes swimming in that same spot 2 seconds later. You know, there's health issues with that. So, and then kind of going along the thoughts with, I'm going to pass this one down now. Going along the thoughts of what we were thinking with adding the dog park rules into the actual ordinance, doing the same with the Wasserman Park beach rules. because they don't seem to have any, you know, common sense. So on the handout that's going around now has just kind of the official beach rules. This is what we enforce, this is what is on the website, but again, if they're not looking at, when we'll get people that'll question the guards, at times, and, well, it's not written here, and again, it's on this sign over here. Well, it's not on that sign over there, you know what I mean? And, we've got some signage we've got to update a little bit, but at least again, it's written kind of in stone, as it were, if it's into the ordinance. So those are kind of the 6 things that I've got, and I'm open to other suggestions if anybody has other thoughts.
Shannon?
Shannon?
I have a couple. First of all, you were talking about 12 being where you want to post the speed limit. 142.12, which only talks about temporary closures.
Oh, 13,
13?
thank you.
Oh, so access limited.
Yes.
I
13.
don't know if that's the place for it. I think, I have a couple questions. And I actually have questions on this as well. A different area of it. So first of all, are all parks showing a speed limit on the road, the parking areas of 5 miles an hour? And should they be? That's my next question. Because I think if you actually had something saying speed limit in all parks limited to 5 miles an hour, that should be its own section. It would stand out because I think it's going to get buried.
Yep, okay.
And, access limited, it's not limited. You're not limiting access. They have free reign. It's just saying, the rules of the road.
Yeah.
And I think that would be its own standalone section so that you can easily reference and enforce it.
Good point. Yep.
When it comes to 142.13A, I don't know if it should be here, and I waited till the end for this to find out, but you never played out my hand for me.
Okay.
Or 142.2. The West Road ATV facility is closed on Sundays, and it is not referenced anywhere.
Oh, good point, good catch.
So I don't know if the best place is access limited for Sunday, or if you want to reference in both places and say, all parks are open 7 days per week, with the exception of the West Road ATV Park, which is closed on Sundays, which is my only day of quiet. And some of my neighbors are also finding, they actually, I think, made a homemade sign saying they'll call the police.
Yeah.
I just did call the police. I didn't actually
Right.
make a sign. That's 2 arts and crafts for me.
Maybe listed both places,
Yeah,
not a
But
bad
yeah,
thing.
but just some thoughts.
that's a good thought about the Sundays. I'd forgotten about that, but I hadn't changed that one specifically,
Yeah.
but obviously it hadn't
Yeah.
come up before, so.
Stop by my house in the summer. You'll remember.
Yeah,
That's the speed limit could be in the use of vehicles, 142.7.
Okay.
That seems to be more logical.
yep.
Yeah.
Am I missing one? Oh,
That's a good point.
job.
But would you need to do anything to establish 5 mile an hour speed limit in all your parks with the town council?
I'll have to go back and, I have to go drive around to all the other parks and see if there is speed limit signs. I noticed it at Wasserman because that's where my office is,
Oh, sure.
but, I'm not sure it's as big of an issue anywhere else, but again, I'd have to go look,
Yeah, I mean, Bishop would probably be one area where people would fly in the park.
probably.
And I'm looking at, do you have to deal with Horse Hill at all? Because it's
I don't
conservation.
know
You
if
don't,
it's
that's good.
conservation.
Because that's another area that's got large parking. And then, I was the one that's down the hill, Weston.
Yeah.
So just areas where they could fly in
Yeah.
quickly. But and that has that sledding hill in the winter.
Right.
So my personal opinion, if I had it, my recommendation would be to have 5 mile an hour in all parks. And I think you're all set.
Yeah.
Well, not too many they actually drive in, right? So Wasserman, Sklar, the ATV.
Car is in ours.
It is in ours,
That's
okay.
conservation's.
Okay,
Veterans Park would be an issue.
okay,
big
time.
yep.
Watson to an extent. Twin Bridge to an extent.
A lot of them are just in a parking lot. You're driving in a parking lot.
Yeah. And you think
That-
about it, 5 miles an hour is like parade speed. It's,
Yeah.
it's a crawl. It's in,
My car doesn't go that slow.
I know. But yeah, we've had people argue was get out and like I said, I've gone down the hill after people and said, what are you doing? I mean, it's like, especially, and it's like, oh, I'm here just to pick up my daughter. Well, then you should know better, But anyway, so I will check on if it's posted elsewhere. But maybe that should be, maybe you're right, that should be just make it for all parks, and then it's easier to enforce.
Even if it's a parking lot, kind of a park, like Weston Park is and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you don't know what's gonna happen in the future, so by basically leaving it as an open-ended,
Yep.
all parks, then you don't have to worry about revisiting this again
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And you still end up with the same thing. You had something you were gonna say. Sorry. I know, seriously.
Any other thoughts, Rick?
Just, I'm curious, do you present this to the police department at all? We're relying on them to enforce any and all of this, and I wonder what their 2 cents would be.
Yeah, I'll be talking with the police chief at some point before we go to the council with it. Like I said, this is just kind of a first stab at it. Like I said, the town manager handed it to us last week, and I was like, oh, we're meeting, so I guess we'll add it to the agenda. So, okay, so I will kind of compile this for next time, and we'll take a second look at it and hopefully talk to police between now and then anyway. But any others that anybody had? Lon?
Yeah, just a final thought. Several of what you've mentioned as changes, I think fall under the category of presenting a culture of the parks. A 5-mile-an-hour speed limit for all the parks that we
Yep.
have jurisdiction over, access and so on. It sets, it creates a mindset in terms of the culture of the parks. I believe we expect safety, yeah, looking after, the idea of being able to enjoy the park without danger. So I'm in favor of the 5-mile speed limit, and as I say, anything that brings that kind of culture forward makes some sense to this guy. Thanks.
Matt? I have, reviewing the dog park rules and regulations, there's reference to chapter 119. We only reviewed 142, so maybe peek at 119 and see how that would imply.
Yeah, 119 is the,
I don't have
it's
it.
kind of the town, just animals, dogs have to be licensed. You have to, with the town clerk and, that kind of stuff. It doesn't necessarily apply specific to recreation. It's
Okay.
kind of town-wide.
I just wanted to make sure we're,
Yep,
maybe if you're gonna put the, dog park rules in there, maybe do a little blurb of 119 to make sure we have that covered. Thank you.
If I
Go ahead.
could, yeah, I do.
Good.
So to kind of harken back to the beginning of the conversation about fluidity, I would say as much flexibility as town council will give you on linking to maybe rules that are easier to change or something that should be a little bit more fluid.
yep.
My suggestion would be to not put it in stone necessarily or codify it in something like this if there's allowances to be able to say, these are the latest and greatest based on city, state, rules, if that's even possible. I may be completely off, but this suggestion, if there's flexibility there, you may want to consider.
Okay. Sounds good.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so, are we finished with 142?
I think so.
Are we?
Sorry.
No, I just want to make sure that we catch everything. All right, so
All great ideas.
the next one that we were talking about is the O'Gara Drive Skate Park.
All right, give me 1 second to flip over here. I just have a picture to show, so nothing extensive here, but it's easier to do it from over here. So for those of you that are new to the committee, the land where the skateboard park and the basketball courts on O'Gara Drive is owned by the school district. And originally, and I'm going to try and give you the short version of this because it was kind of a long, complicated issue. But when the skate park was built, the town and the school signed a long-term agreement to put the park there. That agreement expired in 2017, I believe, 17 or maybe 18. But either way, it expired, and we've been kind of on a year-to-year, extension, as it were, ever since then. I've been told that the school's building committee is starting to think about it, think about that site as possible use. They have not taken any votes or anything, but they're starting to think about it. And since it's been since 2017, since we last talked about it, I figured this was a good time for us to start thinking about it too. Before I get into kind of to specifics here, what I'll say is we're not going to solve this tonight. And we obviously don't necessarily know that we are going to have to move the skateboard park, but just the fact that they are talking about it, I want to be prepared for if and when that day comes, so that we have a kind of a plan in place, so that we have a recommendation ready for the council when it gets to that. So, again, skateboard park is, has a wooden subframe with the skate light there, and the top surface is a skate-like panel. And we spend, usually it's about every 18 months, we spend, $3,000 or $4,000 replacing panels throughout the park because they buckle and crack. The two quarter pipes on either end, it's on asphalt. And so like when it's 90 degrees in the summer, that whole structure melts into the pavement, even after 20 years. And that's kind of what causes the buckling and the cracking and, that kind of stuff. And so at some point, even if the park stays where it is, we are going to have to replace the park. It's not going to survive too much longer. We do have money in the budget. Right now, it's 5 years out in the CIP budget. But obviously, if the school district decides to do something sooner, then obviously we'd have to move our project planning forward to respond to that. Now, to replace the existing park with modern materials, same configuration, right now it's about 80 to 100,000, and it might even be a little bit higher than that. And that's just to replace kind of what's there with kind of modern stuff that'll last and hold up a lot more. Comes with a 25-year warranty, so forth. But like I said, right now it's in the CIP for 2026-27. When this committee looked at this potential options back in 2016-17, like I said, right when the lease was expiring, we looked at a lot of areas in towns. We wanted a central location, good visibility, and something that was easy for people to ideally to walk to. Our current park is 70 feet by 40 feet. And at the time, we were hoping for something downtown. And, we were thinking Watson Park. At the time, there was no appetite from the council to put it there. And that was even before we've added some of the other amenities. Now, whether that has changed since then, it's different people in the council, I don't know. But I wouldn't count on it. And so at the time, our kind of option 2 was up near Bishop Field, kind of adjacent to Bishop Field at the end of Babusick Lake Road. And I'm going to show you. Okay, here we go. So this is, again, what we came up with back in 2017, this committee. And so Bishop Field is obviously in the center of the picture. On the right-hand side of the screen, you've got kind of Babusick Lake Road. On the left side is Madeline Bennett Drive going up to the middle school. Option A is kind of behind the field. It's a little more hidden. I'm told MYA, I believe it's lacrosse, sometimes practices in that area. And so if we took that space from them for a skateboard park, it's, you know, we'd have to find some alternate space, you know, that they could potentially use there. Option B is kind of right on the road. Much more visible, easier for the police to see. My concern with that front spot is there is a house right across the street, and I worry about complaints about noise and that sort of thing. And so what I'd like to do is see if there's a couple of people from the committee, and again, we're not going to solve this tonight, but if there's a couple of people in the committee that will kind of, what I want to do is I want to pull the records from kind of undeveloped town land and just kind of div them up to whoever's interested in helping me with this, and just kind of start taking a look at these parcels of land and see if there's anything else that might make more sense other than this. And any thoughts on that, Shannon?
I think 2017-18, and I'm not looking it up either. But we were even, I think the thought might have been where the MYA building is, that spot, that section to the side of it was also, you know, like on the flat levels. Like, you know, I guess it'd be north of the building, basically, was another consideration, which was, again, close to the road, easily patrollable. I don't see Bishop being a good solution at all. Okay. For all the reasons you discussed. I think it's not the right fit. Okay. It's too tucked away in town. Not going to be easily accessible for students to get there unless you're in middle school. Right. You know, and I just want to clarify a couple of things that you said earlier from a school district perspective. The school planning and building committee is an advisory committee, so they just vet properties and give suggestions and work on projects. The school board would be the one that would grant access and permission. The second thing is, when we did talk and went into this year-to-year situation, you know, we basically said we have no plans of doing anything until there's a reason to do something. That said, 2 years ago, right before the pandemic, so we voted for it and then closed, we voted to do a campus study, which would include O'Gara, the high school, and then going up McElwain and like hitting those other two campuses. So all the things that would be contiguous, including some undeveloped land in those parcels that's wooded, that is now ours, that once was the town's. So with all that said, they're going to be conducting a study because we're able to retain the funds to do that study in a more timely fashion, because now we can actually talk to people, because we can talk to people. It's a little more easy to get the work done. So I don't see short term, like I think you still, my personal opinion, you have a year or two, and I know we've talked on email because you asked about it when you reached out, that I think that it's an appropriate topic for the town council and the school board to meet on jointly, to talk about, you know, because I think you still have to do some work regarding, even though we don't have an agreement with the two bodies, you still have the federal grant that although you got relief for the tennis courts, I'm not sure you got relief for the entire parcel. So that means the basketball court and the skate park would still be under that federal grant as recreational space. So there's a lot of work to be done that we would have to work as joint bodies to help with. And we not being me, because I'm out in a month. So with that said, I think there's a lot of work to be done. You're right, this is very early. I'm glad you're talking about it now. But I think that there's definitely some things that you may want to revisit what's already been covered, pick it up where it was left off, and then keep in touch with the district about what that campus study is looking like, because I think that will drive a lot of your recommendations. But again, I still think that spot north of the MYA building on DW was a spot that was considered. I think the only thing that was pausing it was at one point there was a consideration, instead of making it a V intersection, making it an X intersection.
And that's still part of the, so the dirt parking lot on the kind of on the north side of the MYA building, the bridge right there over Babusick Brook is getting replaced next year, I think it is. And when they do that, I think part of that project is going to cut into the parking lot anyway. But one of the things we've also been talking about is, if you notice when you're in leaving Twin Bridge Park, like if you pull out of there and you're trying to go left, that's a really hard turn to make that left-hand turn. And so one of the things we've been talking about when they do the bridge project is to make it a kind of one-way in where it is now, but out at the intersection with Wire Road, which makes it much easier to make that left turn to get out of there. But that's going to cut into that space where we would need potentially to do that. Because we also talked about a full-size basketball court in that same spot as another option. And there are certainly times with MYA where that both lots are completely full anyway, which is the other issue. So, like I said, when we last looked at this 5 years ago, this was the best we came up with at the time. But like I said, if there's a couple of you that want to just start exploring some options with me, and then we can have something, because again, I'd rather be prepared, and yes, we have a year or two. I'd still like to be prepared ahead of time so that I know what the answer is going to be when we get to that point, and it's going to take us some time to get to that. So, Rick,
Matt, I'll sign on to help you with that.
thank you. Okay. 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 Good. All right, I think I'm good there. Are we up to the director report now?
Not yet.
Okay.
It'll be quick.
Okay, I'm gonna stay where I am.
Alright, so, next one is old business, talking about an update from the Merrimack Dog Park, Chris.
Sure. So dog park, spring is coming, which means spring cleaning. We are posting pictures, and anybody has any questions, they can reach out on the Facebook page, Friends of the Merrimack Dog Park, or contact Matt. Our current balance in the fund is $763.59. We are doing some brainstorming on ways to safely improve the dog park. We're always looking for more volunteers and donations for things like poop bags. So it's always no fun to reach in and find there's no poop bags, but everybody should be bringing a poop bag in their pocket just to make sure you have a backup. We had lots of donations for salt for the year, so I think we actually have a stockpile going into next year, which is kind of nice.
I think it lasts, so I hope so, yeah.
I think so. So we're doing good. So it's looking pretty good, but we also, this time of year, the snow is melted, ice is out of the dog park, so it's time to clean up. So on the lines of smoking, the cigarette butts are a danger for puppies. They swallow them, they expand. There's your $5,000 vet bill. So it's very important to always pick up chewed toys, broken toys, chairs, whatever. Throw them in the dumpster, that's why it's there, so that we can keep everybody safe and healthy. And I think we're gonna look in spring, for mulch, but we haven't gotten very far for that. And we don't quite have enough money, so we may be working with Matt on that. So I think that's it.
We
Anything?
haven't, just to add to it, we haven't opened the water spigot yet. I think that we're gonna wait until we make sure that Mother Nature's finished with all of her fury this year.
Yeah,
And so we
those-
don't have frozen pipes.
Those usually get turned down, I want to say second week of April.
I was saying mid-April.
It's usually
wasn't it? Yeah.
somewhere in that time frame. Again, for the same reason, but we turn on all the ones in the park at the same time, so.
I also wanted to just also thank Matt for getting the no smoking signs out there. They have already been useful. At least I can now point to a sign that says, please don't.
Right.
So it's been working really good. I will say the dog park has been populated a lot more lately because it's been great weather, and the dogs are great, and things are going really well there. So all I keep hearing is everybody's very happy that there's a dog park here in town. So
Exactly. Thank you. And I forgot one other thing. It's that time of year, folks. So if you are going to the dog park, please bring some water for you to share with your dog and his friends' dogs and all that fun stuff. Please don't leave your containers there because they are a chew hazard for dogs. So it's cute to see them running and squeaking it until they shred it and then somebody swallows something they shouldn't have. So bring water. Don't leave your container. Thank you. Questions, Friends of the Merrimack Dog Park Facebook page or Matt? Thank you.
thanks. All right, Matt,
All
you're
right.
up.
All right, well, let's talk about the Wasserman Park, the waterfront. And I'll start with two pictures here. Let's see if I can
Looking
make this bigger. There we go. So I took this picture on Monday, Monday? Yeah, Monday. The project is 99% complete. So if you remember, we had kind of a, pretty steep slope before. It was all tree roots everywhere. You really wasn't much of a beach. So now and you can't see it from this side, but at the top of the wall where those stairs are, there's a retaining wall across the back, and there's going to be a fence going behind said retaining wall so people aren't running down the hill type of thing. And that's one of the things that still has to get done. They're also going to put down hydro seed in the spring on that hillside just to help hold it so it doesn't erode. But basically, there's 2 layers of kind of your beach, and then there's 2 steps into the water. But the beach has all been, the swimming area has all been dredged and mucked and cleaned out. So it's amazing the difference. Like I looked at it, like I said, Monday, and used to be you couldn't see 2 inches into that front section of the dock. It was that just gross. And now, it's 2 feet again. So much improvement over that. And so we're really happy with about how that came out. Related to this, we also put our docks out to bid to replace the 30-year-old swimming docks that are there that have been falling apart for the last 5 or 6 years. We had 4 bidders, and the lowest bidder was actually FWN Docks out of Hudson, which is good because they were the local company. The other one was Pennsylvania, one was Vermont and like Florida or something, I don't know. But came in a little bit above budget, but we found the money within our budget to get it done. So we'll have, the docks have been ordered, and so we should have brand new docks in time for summer. And so that'll be a nice, much improved beach environment down there this summer. Also in our 5-year capital plan will be the kind of the next phase. So obviously this is the section just in front of the swimming docks themselves. The next side of it will be kind of the other side of that pine tree, which again, the state wouldn't allow us to take out the pine trees. Which, let's see, do I have it in the other picture? Let me see if it shows it. There they are. How do I zoom in here? Oh, here it is. Come on. No, won't let me zoom in. Anyway, there it goes. It's just taking a second. So on the right-hand side, you can see there's those 3 giant pine trees, and unfortunately the state wouldn't let us take them out, even though there were all kinds of trip hazards with roots, and the roots were going out 30 feet, and it was just a mess. But our next phase of the beach will be kind of that opposite side of the beach, which is kind of the public side, the open water side. Usually during the summer, like the camp uses the docks, and we ask the public to use kind of the open water side when camp's in session. But so that next phase will be probably 4 years down the road, unless we can come up with the funding sooner. But it'll probably be another $60,000 or $70,000 to improve it, because again, we've got roots and things, but also better accessibility to the docks itself. Right now, there is not an ADA ramp to the dock itself, but there's never has been one. It's just that'll be in the next phase that we'll end up covering. Just letting you know. But again, looks really nice in person. So come down and visit at some point. But should be a much better swimming environment for people using the beach this summer. So. That was good, and we're happy that was done. I was actually really kind of surprised that they were able to kind of work right through the winter, even with some of those heavy, a foot of snow, and 2 days later they're back out there digging right through all the snow with their backhoes, and so that was really nice to get done. Summer camp. So camp registration exploded this year, and it was funny because in October when I was preparing the camp budget, I figured out my numbers and I said, okay, we usually try not to go up more than $10 a week on the cost of camp. We're trying to make camp affordable for families. And especially, if you've got a kid for 9 weeks of the summer, you're talking $2,000 plus, and if obviously more if you've got more kids. So we try to keep it as affordable as possible. But we had to go up $15 this year. It was more than I wanted to, and I was worried about it in October. and thought, oh, this is going to be, this could scare some people away. Well, things have changed a lot since October. We opened registration up in mid-January, and right now we are 99% full. One of the things that actually helped us is Camp Sargent, the YMCA camp across the lake from us, didn't open until this week. They were doing some sort of software upgrade, and so they couldn't physically take registrations, and so that worked in our favor. We are still, but other camps in the area, other day camps have increased their prices more than $15 a week. So we're still kind of one of the cheapest options around, but we're full. I've got, 20 kids a week for pretty much every age group on a wait list. My challenge is I can't get the staff. Last summer when we polled our staff and said, hey, are you coming back next year? What are your thoughts? Most of them were saying yes, they were planning to. And then when we reached out to them to actually, okay, it's time to apply and, get back in again, we haven't had the response that we were expecting. And so that's been a challenge. So we've actually had to cut off registrations, probably 40% lower than where we were expecting to be this year, because until I can get the staff. Right now, I actually need 3 more counselors just to cover the registrations I have each week, and that assumes nobody takes a day off, which we know they're going to. And so hiring's tough right now, and anybody that does hiring for their jobs knows what I'm talking about. It is a tough market. We haven't competed with like the Dunkin' Donuts and the McDonald's and stuff that were paying $14, $15 an hour last year, but we haven't done that, competed with them for several years. We were, our high school, our college age, our 18 and older, camp counselors were at $10 last year. We basically did dollar an hour raises across the board over the last year, which added, $15,000 in expenses, which is kind of what accounted for the cost in camp going up so much. But I couldn't go up, $5 to pay $15 an hour. I can't. Although by next year, we may be doing that. Next summer, camp may have to go up $50 or $100 a week, depending on what happens with the job market in the next year. But it's been a challenge. And so, that's kind of our holding pattern. And of course, now that Camp Sargent did open up their camp registration, all our wait lists are jumping ship because they're afraid they're not going to get into us. And so I might suddenly get 5 more counselors in June, and by then not have anybody on the wait list to take the spot. So it's been a challenge. So anyway, if anybody here or anybody listening at home knows of anybody, we're looking for staff, obviously. Camp counselors, I'm at $10.25 for 16-year-olds is the youngest I can hire. So 16 and 17-year-old camp counselors is $10.25 an hour, which is $1 an hour, $1.25 hour raise of what it was last year. Lifeguards are actually $15 an hour. And with that, if somebody goes out and gets certified, and we have a whole list of upcoming classes in the area for the next 3 months, if somebody goes and gets certified and brings us their certification and then they come work for us, we will reimburse them for the entire cost of the certification course. Unfortunately, I don't have the capability to teach the class myself. It's something we're working on. It's just we don't have that ability right now, so we kind of have to rely on people to have it already. So lifeguards and swim instructors are both $15 an hour. I am looking for, and that's, again, you can be 16 for either of those roles. I am looking for one more special needs aide, a paraprofessional, somebody that has experience working with, children with special needs. Could be a college student, could be a high school, going to college, could be a college graduate, somebody working in the school district, 18 years old or older, and obviously, again, experience working with special needs. And then lastly, I actually still need a waterfront director because unfortunately mine did not return from last summer. So, and that's somebody that's got experience not only as a lifeguard, but experience supervising staff as well. But one of our selling features is we'll guarantee 40 hours a week, and it's Monday through Friday. It's 8 to 4. So it's really kind of a nice shift. You get your nights and weekends free. You even get fed lunch every day. because we do lunch every day. So anybody looking for a job, please send them my way. I am actually holding here at Town Hall next Thursday, the 24th of March. I'll be here at Town Hall from 3 to 6 for a hiring fair. So come in, fill out an application. I'll interview you right on the spot, and you know. So we're trying to get that word out about that as well. We have sent the information to the guidance already. But again, just help us spread the word for if you got friends, kids, neighbors, cousins, nephews, whatever, you know, and have them come on down and ask questions, you know. We can be flexible, obviously, with family vacations and, you know, that kind of stuff. Because, yeah, the staffing is holding up everything else, so with registrations. So that's our big focus right now. And then lastly, just upcoming events in about 3.5 weeks is the Easter egg, the 30th annual Easter egg hunt. Once again, we're back to our traditional format and in the park. 10,000 Easter eggs to hand out again, which have been sitting in my office since January because I ordered early because I wasn't sure what supply chain issues I was going to run into. So looking forward to getting rid of those. But the event runs from 10 to 11:30 at Wasserman Park, and so it's all outdoors, and we have a separate age group for each separate group where the kids go get their Easter eggs done by age. But we have one kind of group just for anybody with special needs is at 10:10. Children ages 1 to 3 is at 10:30. Ages 4 and 5 is 10:50. Ages 6 and 7 is 11:10 a.m. Ages 8 to 10 is right at 11:30 a.m. And if you've ever seen the Easter egg hunt, it's about 30 seconds and they're gone. And so a nice, quick, fun event. I am looking for some volunteers if anybody's available to help me that day. It's a nice, it's a cute event to watch. The main thing is it's we stake out the sections of the park, and so each age group is in a different section, and it's literally dumping hundreds of Easter eggs in each section and spreading them out, and then it's kind of acting as guard essentially until we say 3, 2, 1, go. So and then we move to the next field. So again, if anybody's interested, then I could use the help. Tracy. And we do that event with Merrimack Friends and Family as we have for 30 years now. They will have a big sale. We will have the Easter Bunny doing photos, but the Easter Bunny will be outside this year. We're not doing anything indoors. So, and that is all I got.
Thanks, Matt. That was a lot. All right. We knew this was coming. So next we're going to is organization reports. Maureen.
Hello, everybody. Seniors are back in town. They opened up on Monday, so we had 58 seniors come to the meeting.
That's great.
Yeah, we're having a lot of senior couples joining, because we're going to start our trips pretty soon. I see Matt has a Foxwood trip going.
I've already got 15 people signed up.
Uh-oh, I got to get going. So, yeah, we're opened up, and on Thursdays they're having to get together, and they're planning to having a yard sale eventually, but I guess they're planning their bulletin. They have to have a meeting, get together, and find out what the church is doing, if Steve has anybody accountable for the hall or anything like that, but it's looking good. I mean, we still have, we're wiping down everything. We have those special wipes in the corner. Everyone has to wipe their chairs and their tables down after they leave, so I think it's helping. We're not wearing masks. You don't have to, so if you want to wear them, you wear them. If you don't, you don't. But at the meeting, I think there were maybe 5 people wearing masks, so they're feeling safe again, and that's it.
Thanks, Maureen.
You're welcome.
All right, Rick, MYA.
Thank you. We just wrapped up our basketball and wrestling seasons, and we are about to begin baseball and softball, lacrosse and soccer. Obviously, we're hoping for good dry weather. And I wanted to thank Shannon and the Merrimack School District for something that I think a lot of people take for granted, which is using the gymnasiums all winter long. As we learned through COVID, without the gymnasiums, we don't have a program. So I just want to say thanks. We don't take it for granted. We really appreciate it.
So, well, I will just respond. I think that's where we want the kids. So I'm glad that your organization gives them that downtime to release that energy and learn those skills that help us when they get to the high school. So you feed our programs well.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. Shannon?
Hi.
School board?
Yes. So I will start by saying that our deliberative session is wrapped. The election is in a couple of weeks, April 12th. And I am not running for re-election, so this is my last meeting with you. After 12 years of being on the school board, this is my retirement tour. So I'm glad I was able to join you guys. I spent a lot of my years on the school board at Parks and Rec, and hopefully, made a difference. I know that this organization really feeds that sense of community. We do our part in the school district, and that partnership is definitely something that is, needs to continue for the good of all of Merrimack. So with that, thank you for all who, do all that you do, and I enjoyed working with you all.
Well, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do and for taking care of all of the kids and for being here and helping us and guiding us in as far as the school board stuff is concerned.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
No, it's all part of the community. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you. Lon, you're up next.
Yeah, beyond my usual brief report, I want to thank Shannon Barnes for her service to the school district. She's personally been a big help to me and part of my family, and I appreciate it very, very much. Well-deserved accolades at the deliberative session, and you'll be happier as days go by.
There's no question.
Beyond that, the town council is its busy self, and had a successful deliberative session, and as Shannon mentioned, we're looking forward to elections on April 12th. Come on out and vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Lon.
Thanks, Lon. All right. So, have we had any input from anybody about a school rep?
We have not gotten any student reps.
She's working. Okay.
Working at Sweet Ginger,
Oh,
all kinds of hours, plus soccer.
so I guess what we want is for anyone who's listening here, for anybody here who happens to know anybody, we are looking for a representative from the school to come in to be at our meetings, to help us out, to give us some insight into the schools, keep us apprised of what's going on, and ideas of how we can make things better as well. So if you know anybody, please have them contact Matt Kasparius, and hopefully we'll be able to get someone in sometime soon. All right. So our next meeting at this point is on April 20th. And then after that, it'll be May 18th. Does anybody have any questions or any other input before we take the last vote?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Well, that would be a good question or input. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Got it. Shall we say 10? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Meeting adjourned at 8:24.